Hey everyone, good morning and happy Wednesday. Let's give everyone a minute to join before we begin. All right, we'll go ahead and get things started here. Thank you everyone for joining us today for our webinar on scaling success across teams and divisions in Fieldwire. My name is Pranati Gompa. I'm a construction success manager here at Fieldwire. Before we begin, I would like to address a few housekeeping items. To ensure smooth session, attendees will be muted, but please don't hesitate to ask any questions you may have in the Q&A panel on the right. We'll have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, and we will do our best to address as many questions as we can. For any questions we don't get to, our experts will reach out to you directly. We also have some poll questions during the webinar for you to participate in. Please feel free to select your answers when the questions pop up. Additionally, we have a short 5-question survey at the end of the webinar. We would really appreciate if you could take some time and fill that out. This survey really helps us to determine the usefulness of the content that we deliver and helps us to plan our future webinars. Before we dive into today's webinar, please take a moment to fill out the poll question so that we can learn a little bit more about you. A quick question on what type of company do you work for, and we have just different options. Feel free to go ahead and select it. Awesome. Thank you for that. And without further ado, I would like to welcome our Construction Success Manager, Hannah-Laura Claus, and our special guest, Dave Muro from Climatech. The floor is yours, Hannah-Laura.
Thanks, Pranati. Hi, everyone. Super excited to be leading today's webinar. My name is Hannah-Laura Claus, and I'm a Construction Success Manager here at Fieldwire. I work with subcontractors to maximize their ROI by building out effective and efficient workflows for the field and office teams. And I'm joined today by Dave Muro with Climatech.
Thanks, Hannah-Laura. Dave Muro, I'm the Technical Training Manager for Climatech. I've been with Climatech about almost going on 19 years now. I lead up all training and technical development, and also that includes Fieldwire. So I was one of the people that helped the rollout of Fieldwire to all our branch locations, and I'm also in charge of the daily administration, such as new users and any kind of technical questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. So hopping into a quick agenda for today's webinar, I'll be going over a brief overview of the platform, and from there we'll be discussing how to scale for success with your teams in Fieldwire. So this is really broken up into 3 main areas: project templates and standardizing your project structure, which will include a live demo, And then we'll also discuss several resources that we implemented at Climatech that really helped scale Fieldwire to the team successfully. And then lastly, we'll go over how Dave and the team created what we call a branch champion meeting at Climatech and how that could be valuable for your company. And after that, we'll open it up for Q&A as Pranathi discussed. So just a quick Fieldwire overview. What is Fieldwire? Fieldwire is a job site management tool that connects the field and office easily. It can be your single source of truth for your projects and allows you to manage your daily activities through a single app, online or off. And we do this in three main areas: accessing information, planning and managing work, and reporting progress. So users utilizing Fieldwire have all the relevant plans, specs, and 3D models at their fingertips to reference in the field, as well as communicate within those by utilizing various markup tools. Secondly, in terms of planning and managing work, you can plan that through our tasks tool. So that could be proactive items like man loading or putting your schedule in there for your work that you're set to complete, or it can be reactive work like punch items. Within our tasks tool, you're able to communicate effectively in the messages section, and you can also include checklists as well for set items that you need to complete. And finally, in terms of reporting progress, you can easily report on work performed with our custom forms, as well as, you can create custom forms for JSAs, dailies, inspections, things like that. And in our tool as well, you're able to take video and photos that can be tied directly to specific locations on the job site to, once again, document the work that you completed, or also document issues and things like that on the job site. So going into project templates, actually, before we dive into that specifically, we do have a quick poll question. Great. So before we dive into the demo, just wanted to give a quick overview of project templates. This was a release that happened in Q2 of this year and is available on the Business and Business Plus tiers. Do note that if you do have a Pro plan with us, I will show in the live demo how you're still able to clone old projects into new ones and set up that structure that way. But with project templates, this feature lives under the templates tab at the account level, and it allows you to build out all of your settings, including folders, form templates, task attributes, and more within that template. So project templates can also be created from an existing project as well, and it really enhances the current cloning feature that we have in the system, making it more intuitive and easier to set up. And with that, I'll go ahead and share my screen and we can discuss the development of the template project and how that really helped Climatech as a whole. So jumping into what we call this master template with Climatech, Dave and team, when they were initially working on implementing Fieldwire they sat down and they really focused on establishing both a Fieldwire job template and in turn building out some of the resources that we'll discuss later in the session. So establishing this type of template really enabled standardization and a clear use case across the company. Dave, can you walk us through the process of building out this master template project and go through, the task structure that's shown on this page?
Sure thing. Yeah, like Hannelore said, we wanted to make sure we had a master template that everybody from every branch location could use as their master, and then our branch champions can take it from there and kind of develop from there their own standards for their own master there at their local branch. But this is kind of the, I guess you could call it the master of the templates that we have. Any changes that we discuss while we're in our branch champion meetings that we'll go through a little bit later, all gets kind of walked through in this. And what we went through as we were developing it was our best practices. We walked through and prioritized how we wanted it to lay out with the best flow of our projects and how that works. So if you kind of go across the top with our statuses there, it kind of goes with the flow of our projects. Our installation is more on our subcontractor side. They'll get assigned these tasks. And from there, once their install is complete, they'll mark it as complete, and then just moving along the progression there, it goes across to our, usually changes to our technicians at that point. Well, they'll work on doing the startup and commissioning of the particular piece of equipment, VAB, whatever it may be. And then from there, it goes into our design engineering, where it's like as-built, any kind of drawing corrections, stuff like that. And once the work is completed, it's marked completed by our technicians in the engineering department. And then the last thing over there on the far right is our verified, which is done by the admin of the project, whether it be the project manager or the lead technician, something to that effect. Whoever's been identified as admin, only admin can do that. On the far left side, we have priority 1 items, and then anything that's past that due date goes over to that far left corner. And then over on the left taskbar on the side there, we have our categories. Kind of follows a little bit of a similar flow. We have our design engineering team that goes through, creates our as-built drawings, goes through all of our drawings we receive up for the project. Once they've completed and gone through all those processes, RFIs, such whatever it may be, it gets turned over and then goes through the installation, point to point, any punch list items that come up that's needed to be completed once the piece of equipment or whatever it may be is completed. And then obviously startup there is that last one. So that's kind of the progression there for our tasking, how that's been rolled out. If you go down now to our forms, Hannelore, we can talk about those a little bit. All right, so in the form section there, we have some of our standard forms that we've developed, change order request forms. Our dailies are one of our probably most highly used form that we use, just to make sure people are keeping track of what they're doing and having that that log there to go back to. Some other things on there that we'll use is RFIs, timesheets are there as well, some point-to-point stuff, but mostly the ones we use the most is probably our daily inspection requests and change order requests and the RFIs. So that's just our standard template. Some of the other branches may have some differences. We push those templates up to the master, and then they're able to pull it down as we adjust or make new ones. So we can file share across the branches for theirs or even across different locations. So if we go down to files now, Hannelore.
Yep.
And this is just our standard layout we use for the file structure. We put in anything from change orders, data sheets, our equipment submittals. This is a great reference point that we can use and actually add them to tasking as needed. And then it's just a great file structure that we have in place. Again, this is just our standard. We do have different branches doing some different spin-off things, but this keeps it standard across the board.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for that background information, Dave, on kind of the process and how you all set up this template project.
Sure.
So now I'm going to demo how easy it is to create a project template at the account level. So we're going to go ahead and go to the home page of Fieldwire and go up to this template section at the top bar. And here you can see there's already some project templates created. So you can obviously create more than one project template. Say you're a GC, maybe doing commercial and government projects, or a subcontractor that does various divisions depending on the project. You could set up a project template for each one. So here is how to create a project template. If I go into here and plus new template, hit project template, I can come in, name the project what I need, and this is where you have the ability to create a project template off of an existing job. So I can come in here, for example, and select that Climate Tech master template that Dave was just discussing and set up the project template accordingly. I've already done that, so we'll hop into what that project template looks like at the account level. Very similar to like what Dave was talking about, how some branches have added to the master template and made adjustments. You can do that here within project templates. So you can update your task structure and categories as needed, manage those plan folders and file folders like Dave showed. And you can also manage users here within the project templates too. So if you have maybe a PM that wants to be on every new project, or a safety official or someone in the company that needs to be across all of your projects, you could include them in this template. And each time you create a new project, they'll be included automatically. So it really saves time in terms of that upfront initial project setup and creates that level of standardization that Dave was mentioning. Each branch may have a little bit different ways that they utilize and maybe a different structure for certain things, but overall, each user is going to have the same level of standardization when they go to project A versus project B within their branches. So that's how to create a project template here. And then if I go within here to the projects tab, when I create a new project here, this is going to allow me to start with that project template. So I can come in and select that and create my project right away. No spending time, duplicating forms and uploading those or creating those. Everything is ready and good for me to go. For pro users, just note that you can still clone an existing project here, and you have that option of selecting what project you want to clone, and then coming in and selecting the different items that you want to pull over from that existing job. So with that, let's switch gears and discuss some of the resources that Dave, myself, and other Climate Tech team members put together that allowed for an efficient rollout to the Climate Tech branch locations and really helped scale that success, provided team members with clear instructions and documentation, and gave them those resources that we'll discuss. Before we get into that, we do have a quick poll question. Great. So in terms of company communication and how that can help to scale your teams effectively, these resources listed, these 4 that Dave, myself, and team built out for Climate Tech are SOP, or what we call a best practices guide, subcontractor guides, an online training module, and lastly, a communication / one-pager plan. So Dave, could you talk through, how you and team built out the best practices guide for Climate Tech and really what's included in that guide?
Sure thing. Yeah. So our Las Vegas branch was kind of our uh, spearheaded the whole initial rollout of our Fieldwire application. So we kind of used them to help develop our best practices and how we wanted that to flow according to, like we talked about earlier, the different statuses and categories and stuff like that. So we took that, made our SOP and our best practices guide, and then in turn, once we were ready for our full rollout, that's where we actually implemented those into our project template. So it made that a lot easier for people to jump in and start using it, since it was already implemented into our project template and it was more of a reference for them to follow. I feel like that made it a lot easier to transition and start using it, instead of having a project manager or somebody there locally having to create a new project on their own, follow each one of these steps, and then create their own that way. So I feel like it helped with that transition to start using Fieldwire a little bit better and a little bit quicker. The subcontractor guides, so we were really trying to get our subcontractors up to speed, really wanted them to start buying in and start using that. So we created a guide for them to follow, and how to use some initial setup, how to log in, and what some of the things that they're going to be seeing as they use Fieldwire. So we've even done some other trainings where we've done it specifically with our local subcontractors and had them online, and we did some live training with them, and we're able to give them some Q&A and just follow through how it would flow onto a project. As far as the training modules, what we have is any new hires. Well, initially what we did was, before full rollout, I went through and did a full training on each one of our branches personally, and had an in-person training, day or two here or there across all our branches, to really kind of get people in the seats, people actually seeing it, doing live question and answers. So we went around and did that, and then we kind of followed on with some other virtual training, kind of following the same guidelines. Um, and then now what we've done is actually implement it into our learning management system and have it as something for as we get new hires or people getting promoted or starting to use Fieldwire, they're automatically enrolled in our learning management system, Fieldwire training path. And the way we did that was took a lot of the videos that are already supplied by Fieldwire, and just kind of cut them up and used them as we needed, how it fit to how it worked for Climate Tech, and just really customize them and kept it to the simplicity part of it, of what they can use and what they need to get started. The one pagers, I know we'll show those here in a little bit, but we had a nice one pager just to kind of show everybody what was coming prior to all this rollout that came out, so they could have an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks, Dave, for the background on the best practices and subcontractor guides. You guys put a lot of effort and time into setting those up. And like you mentioned, they really helped kind of speed up the implementation and adoption of Fieldwire across the branches. Another resource that Dave and myself put together, she's already mentioned, was this company one pager. So like Dave mentioned, we did, and he ran several trainings across the branches live, and then from there we did some online as well. But really building out this one pager, we sent this out to the branches ahead of the trainings. So with this one pager, it gave, a clear directive of what was coming in terms of utilizing this new software, why Fieldwire was picked, and set expectations in advance of those trainings. Like, hey, you'll receive an invite to Fieldwire, and also a training link. Here's what's coming, that type of thing. Another part of the one-pager that we included were key contacts, such as myself and Dave. So they had that resource ahead of time. They knew our names before the training. Linked a couple of Fieldwire's getting started videos. So if they did want to be proactive and kind of learn more about Fieldwire before the training, they had that reference. And we did also showcase some user quotes and the task workflow from the Las Vegas branch, which had already been utilizing Fieldwire for, I think, about 5 to 6 months before we did the main company rollout. So having this resource sent out to the branches beforehand really allowed for that clearer understanding of the change to come and how Fieldwire could be such a great resource there. And then lastly, like I mentioned at the beginning in the agenda, Dave and team also created branch champion meetings within the various branches, and I'll let Dave discuss that.
Sure. Yeah. No, I thought this would be something great to put together to really help with the buy-in and collaboration with all the different branches. So we were able to identify a branch champion in each of our locations. And then we have a monthly meeting that we go through and we discuss issues they may have or ways that they're doing things, and really have, we go through some normal house cleaning stuff and how we're still going to continue to develop our templates and how we're going to continue to work and use Fieldwire. And then it's a nice collaboration between the branches where we discuss different things and different ways of how people use things. And it really helps to grow and develop how we're implementing Fieldwire. And I think the buy-in has been great from there, where the branch champions are even trickling that down and having their own meetings there at their local branch, discussing lesson learns. Any product updates come through, Hannelore joins us on these meetings, which is great. So if we have any feedback or any questions, she's right there on top of it and either has the questions right away or she's really quick to get it for us. And it's really been helpful, I think, with our development and the buy-in across all the locations and the standardization for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Dave. So today's session covered scaling success across teams and divisions. Do note that attendees can download a couple of the templates that we discussed today on the right-hand bar under the handout section for the webinar. But we will also share these templates via email after the webinar. And now I'll hand it over to Pranathi for one last poll question before we open it up to Q&A. Oh, I cannot hear you, Pranathi.
Thank you, Laura and Dave,
Yep.
for this workflow and showing it in action, and also just discussing about the different SOPs or one pages that you guys have developed to keep it more more coherent across different branches and get people onboarded easily. So before we dive into the Q&A session, I have one last poll question here for you guys. Just a quick poll question. Just wanted to know if this webinar has provided you with information on how to scale your training and implementation of Fieldwire across your company. Awesome, thank you for that. I also want to go back and reattest that we have these handouts, just the templates of a best practice guide and also a one-pager in the handouts on the right-hand side in the bar. You can download them and customize it for your use cases. We'll also send these as an attachment to the follow-up emails that we will send. Apart from that, I also added a link to our different tutorial playlists that Fieldwire has put together. These are just videos depending on the role of the person, and they're like 2 to 5 minute videos and a bunch of them as a playlist so that they can watch them and get started on Fieldwire. Awesome. Let's get into the Q&A session now. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and post them on the bar. The first one that I have here for you is who creates the templates at branch level and upkeep them with the new features? Dave, this is majorly for you.
Yeah, so what we usually have is somebody there who does when we get a new project and when they book the project, we have that, usually that same person is somebody that has a admin account in Fieldwire, and they just take that template, clone it, put the associated project manager that's assigned to it, and then in their template as well, they have the usual people they want in their particular project, whether it be the ops manager, their particular supervisor, and then from there it's turned over to the project manager.
Got it. Thank you so much, Dave. The next question is, when you get new hires, what is the process in getting them to Fieldwire and getting them trained? Can you maybe speak a little bit about that?
Sure. So we have a new hire kind of checklist that goes through. It has multiple different things as far as what they may need. And one of those items is if they need a Fieldwire account. So once that item is selected or checked, it sends something over to me. And from there, I see that, I'll enroll them and get them their own account. And then I'll automatically enroll them as well into our learning management system, learning path for Fieldwire. So it kind of saves some time of having to onboard with somebody one-on-one. They can go through and get that initial training on how Fieldwire works for one, and then how we do our best practices as well.
Thank you so much. The next question, this is also for you, Dave. What challenges did you face customizing forms for your specific use cases?
Customizing what, I'm sorry?
Customizing the forms, like when you went ahead and customized these forms for your guys' use case, what are the different challenges that you faced?
Well, there was a lot of different inputs from different branch locations of what they wanted. So we wanted to make sure that we at least kept something standard that was across the board. And then again, like I said earlier, we have where they can vary from their own, take that template, adjust it to something that they need specifically for their location, and then they can make it their own template. We push that template up to the account level, and then when somebody else needs it on the account or on a project that maybe hasn't gotten that update yet or was created before that, they can pull that template form down and be able to use it as well.
Got it. Thank you. So maybe this is for you, Hannelore. I'm the safety director of my company, and the safety audit form is nice. My question is, can you customize it further?
Yes, absolutely. So there's in kind of the upper right-hand corner of form templates, you're able to manage those templates. So we provide standard kind of templates, and I think the safety audit one is one, but you have ability to customize that however you want.
Yep. Hannelore, maybe you can just change the screen and just show them how you can like click it.
Absolutely.
That way.
I'll go into this master. So within the Forms tab on a project, you can also do this on the account level as well. Under Manage Templates, I can come into that template that I want to change and edit, and I'll just have to make sure that I unpublish it first, and that kind of puts it in a draft mode. And then from there, this is really our form builder screen. So you're able to come in and say edit certain sections, edit certain parts of sections as well, or create new ones too. So you have a lot of flexibility of how you want the form template to look. And as you're building that out, you can always preview, how it's going to look on the end user side when they're filling out that form.
Thank you so much for going through that.
Yeah.
This is another question for you. Maybe if a client does not provide floor plans, does this severely limit capabilities or use case of Fieldwire? Maybe can you talk about what are the different things you can still do even if you don't have plans on Fieldwire?
Yeah, absolutely. So, great question. I think just going back into this job as well, in terms of not having plans, you can still utilize our tasks tool very heavily. Having that plan and that tied location is really great. But in terms of the tasks tool and workflow overall, you can still set up tasks to kind of track where they're at on the project and manage your work effectively without it being tied to drawing. So there's still that communication piece. For example, like this VA V6, I know that it's in startup. I can come in, add any messages and communication back and forth from the field to the office and add photos, other documentation as well within those tasks. And the beauty of the tasks tool in general is you can also report on these tasks. So you're able to kind of track stuff internally here in Fieldwire, but you can also report on it externally as well.
Awesome. While you are on tasks, we have another question on punch list. On punch list tasks, can I see remark deficient work that needs to be corrected? Maybe just show about how you can use a checklist to mark the work that is done, not done, and also create a report that can be sent out to your GCs or owner reps and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So here I'll just take a couple of these punch list items. So, we've got missing damper, damage to controls box. You can also add checklists like Pranathi was mentioning within here. So maybe you have, item A and B that need to be completed within this punch task. Users can come in and mark those off as they are completed and then also move them to the completed section. But in terms of communicating regarding punch, say I can come in here, add what the issue is, or if there's damage, attach a photo as well. And like I was mentioning before, in tasks, you have the ability to generate reports. So I can come in and say, create a punch report. And filter out by that specific category or specific status. If that's part of your, custom task workflow there, you have the flexibility there to kind of figure out how you want punch to be set up on your projects. But from there, with your task reports, you have the ability to, download that report out, email it out, or even automate that report. So say you wanted to send out a punch report to your GC every Monday that had those punch items, you could set that up effectively as well within Fieldwire.
Awesome, thank you. The next one we have is about, are you able to show some templates? Maybe do you want to just go into just explaining the different things in this template and show how these statuses are different in a different template?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will go to the projects template tab here. So this scaling success webinar, I pulled it from the Climate Tech master template that Dave already went through and discussed, but here you can see, those form templates and file folders, things like that he mentioned are copied over from that specific template. So you can really have a lot of customization here. Like if I wanted to change my statuses for tasks, different checklists, things like that. So let me go out to another template here that I have for MEP contractors. So you can see there's a couple different settings changed here in terms of manpower, maybe a couple different categories and things like that within your template. So you do have several options of how to change those as well.
Got it. Thank you. And also, does Fieldwire have any ready-made industry-specific templates? They're basically looking for an architectural template like the ones used by Andy on YouTube. I have no clue who Andy is, but do we have any custom templates?
We do have set kind of standard form templates. So daily report, inspection, safety audit, timesheet, and JHA, I believe. But from there, there's not really any custom templates that we've built out for architects, for instance.
Yep. Thank you for covering that. Yeah, we don't have any, we do have like a very basic templates based on your priorities of tasks and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any custom one for architects, but we also have like some forms as templates. So if you go into forms and you're wanting to start creating forms, you do have some inbuilt form templates as well. Also, we have another question on the tasks. How can we export tasks to Excel? Like
To Excel?
a CSV
Yeah.
export. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're in your tasks tab and task view here, you'll go back to this generate reports button, and either you can create a new report saying like Excel split or whatever export. I'm just going to come into this open tasks one, but you do have different type of reports that you can use for tasks. So here you would create that CSV. Once again, you can set up task filters however you want to and include whatever you want to in the CSV. So there are options here of what extra columns you want basically in that export. And then you would just download that as a CSV and open it up in Excel from there.
Awesome. Thank you. And the last question, regarding drawings or submittals, is there a limit on how many documents you can upload at once?
I do not believe so. I think it's more tied to size of files uploaded at once versus number of files.
Awesome. In respect of time, we're almost at time. And again, thank you everyone for attending today. For the questions we couldn't go through, we will go ahead and send you an answer. And the session is recorded today. So you will receive a follow-up email with the recording of the session, the templates, and also a link to our tutorial videos on YouTube. I hope this session was useful, and we would really appreciate if you could stay over for a couple of minutes to answer our survey. Again, thank you so much and have a great Wednesday. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.